one decent song does not restore your icon status. So no, you're not iconic by mistake. What you are is tone deaf on purpose. It's actually baffling to me that this is like socially acceptable. This is a pretty cut and dry thing for me, and if you disagree, respectfully, I do think that you're stupid. They didn't have like a metal detector at the door to check if the guests were liberal enough to like satisfy TikTok activists.
Okay, so there's some education that needs to be done. I can see that.
Hello, my name is Freyr. I'm your favorite local postgraduate and a Polish sociology student, and welcome to my little corner of the internet where I discuss all forms of popular media that interest me, whether that's books, TV shows, films, or music. And today I'm doing, I think this is the third installment of the Pop Culture Hot Take series. If you haven't seen the previous two episodes, you can go and watch them. They're still up on my channel. But the premise is simple. You guys submitted some hot takes, and I am here to react to them. But today we're gonna be doing things a little bit more differently. Aside from the hot takes that I received from you, I'm also gonna be interjecting mine. I have a couple that I really wanted to talk about, and so this is the perfect opportunity for me to do that. As always, please remember to subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out, and you can follow me on all of my social media, which will be listed in the description box below. And also please remember, this video is gonna contain opinions, so just, you know, be aware of that. And also keep it civil in the comment section, please. First, we're gonna cover a couple of hot takes from the world of music, then from the world of films, and lastly, we're gonna have an entire section dedicated to Taylor Swift because a lot of people had a lot of things to say about her. Partially, I feel like you guys were submitting these to just like rage bait me, but I will gratify some of these with a response because I feel like we need to talk about it. Our first hot take of the video. Katy Perry is still one of the mothers of gay pop music. Why do so many people hate her now? Her music is still great. Watch It Burn is lit, so is the previous album 143. I mean, historically speaking, yes, she definitely was an icon. She had impact. She has still one of the best pop albums ever released. She was definitely a mother, you know, but lately, it's not been very good for Katy Perry. You brought up her new song, I think it's called Watch It Burn, right? Which I will agree with you that I do think it's a good song. I've listened to it a few times. It's quite enjoyable. It's not necessarily something that I would like put on repeat, but it's fun. And most importantly, it is infinitely better than anything that was on 143. But one decent song does not restore your icon status. 143 is known as one of the biggest flop albums of this decade. For a reason. It was just lacking in... You know what? Actually, we can stop the sentence there. It was lacking. It lacked in every sense of the word. And that is even if you don't mention the actual elephant in the room, which is of course the collaboration with Dr. Luke. I think the world has just moved on from Katy Perry and she hasn't been able to catch up to it. And her efforts don't seem organic enough for the music to actually stick. She is still stuck in 2015 and she continues to produce her own like impressions of how popular, cool, modern music sounds like. I think the direction she's going in now is definitely more interesting than whatever she was doing with 143, but I feel like Katy Perry just needs to shake things up. She needs to surprise us in some way, take some risks, you know, be a little bit bolder because all of these choices seem so safe and so boring. Maybe then some of that icon status can be recovered, can return. I don't know. And honestly, I would hope for that because I actually genuinely have nothing against Katy Perry. I actually really like her earlier music. I think she definitely cooked with some of her earlier albums. She's made great music in the past. What we need from her is artistic growth. And because she hasn't really shown it since, like, I don't know, maybe Witness, honestly, that's why that icon status kind of faded away. Now we're getting into one of my hot takes, and that is iconic by mistake was a mistake. This song has the energy of like primary school comeback compilations that you'd search on YouTube after somebody bullied you in school or was mean to you. It is cringy as fuck, and it just sounds like... It's honestly hard to even describe it. Cat's Eye have this thing where the music isn't important, but what is important is like the dance trend that the song inspires. This is the exact example of this because to me, this song is unlistenable and it has Cat's Eye music producers written all over it. Illit and Le Seraphim do a decent job, and I mean, so do the Cat's Eye girls, but the material they were given to work with is a very surface level response to the backlash that only makes people move away further from the music and from their brand. I have lesser knowledge on Illit and Le Seraphim, but for Cat's Eye, this feels like a kind of indirect way of responding to the hate train that they've been experiencing this year. However, I feel like what the producers who made the song for them failed to realize is that this hate train kind of wasn't directed at Katseye itself, but more so at Hybe as a company. And that was all obviously because of the exclusion of Manon from the group. So no, you're not iconic by mistake. What you are is tone deaf on purpose.
Yup.
It was meant to be this fierce and powerful response to the hate, but like, it really is just laughable at this point. They're trying to paint this narrative, but we all know why Katseye has been seen so negatively recently, and that has nothing to do with the girls. No one is hating on them. I mean, I'd hope so, because I don't think they deserve any hate. If you are directing hate at the girls for anything related to the Manon thing, I do think that you're stupid, but I do think that most of the like intelligent people who understand exactly what happened are not mad at the girls in Katseye, but more so at the machine behind them. And that is the thing that we should be angry at, not the girls. This person says, the new touring model excludes many fans and in the long run will harm concert culture. I absolutely agree, and more so I would say that it already has. I can attest to this from my own experience of, living in Poland. We are a pretty rich country with many venues that both small artists and big artists could sell out. And we also have a lot of fandoms in our country. No matter who you are as an artist, you probably can sell out a show in Poland. But yet, few artists actually come to visit us on their tours. Concert tours used to be about visiting as many places and playing for as many people as possible. But now, concert tours require from you to oftentimes fly to a different country and pay a shit ton of money for those tickets. You basically have to plan your entire life around it as well. And this residency model that we are currently seeing being popularized is only furthering the harm, because now concerts are becoming more and more elitist. If you live in London and have enough money, you can basically go to every show that Harry Styles played at Wembley Stadium. However, thousands of fans are not going to be able to do so because either A, they don't want to sell a liver to go to said concert, or B, they don't live in London. It creates a divide within the fans, because now you get the wealthy fans that can afford going to all these concerts and fans who are excluded from this opportunity. They just cannot afford to do so. Concerts used to be accessible for regular people, and the fact that we are striving away from that really makes me sad. And that is the case even when artists actually tour properly, because the tickets are already very expensive, but it becomes even more of a problem if you're forcing your fans to travel with these residency tours. You basically sit in one place for weeks, hoard money there, and I think it's disrespectful to the fans. Also, don't get me started about how many artists view Europe. Like, I'm sorry. That is a problem in and of itself. And I know that basically all other continents experience this, as probably outside of North America, because let's be honest, most tours have like proper dates for the US and sometimes also Canada. Europe is typically just viewed as London, like Paris, maybe Amsterdam, and maybe Berlin if we're lucky. And that's kind of it. Anyway, moving to my own hot take. I am tired of the Gracie Abrams and Somber jokes. It's not funny. And also, I would argue it never was. The hate trains on these artists are crazy to me, despite the fact that they've done virtually nothing. What have they ever done to harm anybody? And I'm not even like a big fan of any of them, even though I might film a reaction for Gracie's upcoming album. Stay tuned, that might happen. But seeing these jokes makes me very uncomfortable. The what is it? I blocked Gracie Abrams thing is maybe relatively harmless, but I remember just how like last year or 2 years ago, people were so rude to this girl for virtually no reason. I guess maybe because she made music that they didn't like, but that is not an excuse to just be so vile towards her. And Somber. Honestly, that is an even crazier case to me, because he is a 21-year-old guy who got famous for TikTok because he makes music that is suited, for the most part, for TikTok, yet people act like he killed somebody. Calling him spiritually Israeli, wishing for him to die, the entire trend of stand somber, or like, what has this guy done to you aside from existing? I cannot imagine being in his position right now, or Gracie's for that matter. Because what do you even do about it when half of the internet, for some reason, is convinced that you're this devil incarnate when all he did was release music? How do you even begin to process that? And especially at that age too, like he is so young. He's basically my age, I think, because he's 21, right? I'm 21. I could not imagine like having to handle this. I think my brain would just start short-circuiting. I would end up at an asylum. I think these jokes really have to stop because it's reaching a very concerning territory, and some of you are getting way too comfortable with saying wild shit online and then passing it off as a harmless joke. It's not. If you don't like these artists for whatever reason, just don't interact with them. Just like move on. You can block them, do something else with your life. I don't know. It's just so weird to me that this is like the thing that people are now spending their energy on. So much of their energy. Like these posts are getting millions of likes on Twitter, on TikTok, on Instagram, wherever. It's actually baffling to me that this is like socially acceptable. Oh, and I was just talking about what some people are calling somber, so might as well add another take of mine here, because I think it very much relates to this one. The spiritually Israeli joke is harmful. Why, you may ask? Well, let me explain. This is a textbook definition of something called mimetic warfare, which is basically a form of psychological and information warfare that uses social media memes as weapons. It revolves around sharing images and videos in the different meme formats and using them in order to shape the public opinion, discredit opponents, and also win ideological or political battles. By participating in this, the internet is basically making Israel out to be a joke, something unserious, something you can make jokes about, when in reality it is very much not a topic to be joked about. It turns the public's perception from the actual reason why most people dislike Israel and directly benefits their government. It turns their actions into memes. It waters them down into an internet term, and that makes them seem so much less serious. And to me, that is evil. Every single time I see people joking about this, I just want to slam my head into a wall. Like, spiritually Israeli doesn't mean anything anymore. It's just another one of those terms that people throw around without thinking much about it when they want to hate on something, but they can't find a reason for it. Like, y'all managed to turn war crimes into an internet joke, and I fucking hate it. Anyway, I think we kind of strayed away from like music hot takes, but I want to talk about a few film ones before we get into the probably very long Taylor Swift section. The first hot take submitted here was, I hope Moana flops. All I'm gonna say about this for now is that I agree, and I mean, it will flop. Have you seen the first numbers for this movie that like came in? Those are horrible numbers for Disney. However, I'm gonna restrain myself from giving many opinions here. All I'm gonna say is be on the lookout, because there might be a video coming out soon about this very topic, and I have a lot to say in that video. So yeah, stay tuned for that. My hot take in this category is Obsession is becoming my new litmus test for media literacy. Why that is because unlike many films that have themes that are very much up for the viewer's interpretation, I think the main theme of Obsession is not. And the amount of people who still think that Bear is the victim in this film scare me. Like, did we watch the same movie or not? This has been the case for a while, but this new Alex Myers video that TikTok has been roasting for days really only proved that to me further. There are people out there who watched this film and then went on to make YouTube videos about it, in which they say some very interesting things about Nikki and the actress that is playing her, whilst also painting Bear out as this innocent little hopeless romantic hero who never did anything wrong. Like, no. This is a pretty cut and dry thing for me, and if you disagree, respectfully, I do think that you're stupid. Bear takes the agency away from Nikki, he forces her into this relationship, and then when it's clear that he fucked up, he has the nerve to exit the narrative, leaving Nikki to deal with the aftermath of his own actions all alone. There is one point in the film where she begs him to kill her, and he's like, what's so bad about being with me? Like, and you'll think that's the hero of this? Like, oh my God. Genuinely, there's nothing here. Nothing here. Empty. The movie is also pretty explicit about it. This is all the fault of Bear, and he is to blame for all of this. So I just don't understand how you can interpret this differently. So yeah, Obsession is my new litmus test for media literacy. And I will be using, people's opinions about this film to determine if they are worthy my time. Our next hot take is as follows. We reached the state where everything is too correct politically. Like, for example, wanting the actor to look like character isn't racist. Why now Snow White has to be black or Peter Pan gay? Okay, okay, I don't understand some of the wording here, but I understand the intention behind it. And what I have to say about it is that I massively disagree. I think the inclusion of people outside of the white heteronormative norm always makes certain groups of people uncomfortable. And that is the exact reason why they are necessary. And also, I mean, you mentioned Snow White, which again, I will be talking about somewhere this week or maybe next week. We'll see. But that to me was pretty much the case of, hey, Rachel Zegler is very talented, so she just landed this role. Pretty cut and dry to me. I mean, it doesn't have to be that, but I think many people oftentimes paint this out as a sort of like Hollywood agenda, where most of the times it just fully comes down to like, this person was the best in the audition process, or this person has a big name attached to them, so we would want to work with them and they might also fit the role. That is typically like the logistics behind, casting people in projects. I think if just including people who were for the most part previously excluded from stories like these is a problem for you, then that tells me everything I need to know. People love to bitch and moan about like white erasure and hetero erasure in films and shows and media in general. And my question to that is like, what erasure? Name me a film or a show that doesn't have a white person in it or a hetero couple in it. Challenge, genuinely go and try and do that. Why is it that when suddenly one piece of media is no longer portraying a white person, people get upset as if it's taking away from important representation that we wouldn't get otherwise? Like, it's not. It really, really isn't. And also, other people who aren't white or straight also deserve to see themselves in these stories. I think The Little Mermaid, actually, the Little Mermaid remake, perfect example of this. How can you watch those videos of those little kids reacting to the Little Mermaid trailer where they finally see that Ariel is played by a black woman, and then immediately go on the internet and try and justify how that was a wrong casting? Like how? Political correctness is a difficult topic to discuss. It's very multifaceted, but on the basic surface level, I would personally say that I never saw a problem with it. It makes the stories that artists tell more meaningful a lot of the times. It adds context. It can be educational and empowering. And I mean, of course, there are limits to it. I think many people draw the line on historical accuracy, which I can agree on to a certain extent. But Snow White or Little Mermaid, those aren't examples of that. These are made up characters. And if you don't like the new version of the character, if you think it's taking away from the important white representation, there's always the old version of the character too. You'll just go and watch that, I guess. I also don't think that critiquing new castings makes you racist, but the way you do it does. If the only reason why you disagree with Rachel Zegler being Snow White is because she is not white, yes, that is racist. That is not caring about the character. That is just straight up racism. And on the topic of that, I actually have a separate take. The reaction to the Odyssey cast shows clear double standards, and most of the people complaining don't actually care about historical accuracy. Lupita Nyong'o has been a topic of conversation because she got cast as Helen of Troy, a mythical figure, a daughter of Zeus, who was also birthed from an egg. And yeah, many people have been very upset at this, and lesser of the same critique, I would say, also went towards Zendaya, who will be portraying Athena. So yeah, many people are throwing hissy fits because a woman of color will be in the new Odyssey movie, all in the name of historical accuracy. What is funny to me, though, is that if we really go by the rules of historical accuracy here, this entire cast is not accurate. None of these people are Greek. None of them are remotely Mediterranean. Most of them are American or British. So why are we pulling the historical accuracy card with Lupita or Zendaya, but not with the rest of the cast, seems like cherry picking to me. I don't know. Y'all don't care about historical accuracy, and you never did. So stop pretending unless you criticize the entire cast, not just the people of color in it. I think there are many reasons to be critical of this new adaptation of the Odyssey, but specifically fixating on the inclusion of people of color is just straight up racist. Please go outside, admire the sun, touch some grass, look up into the sky at the clouds, put the phone down. I don't know. I just don't think it's that serious, I really don't. The next submitted take is Supergirl was a good movie, but men were angry with it because it dared to show a different perspective. Everything is already so men-centered, so a female empowerment film was too much for them to handle. Yeah, I very much agree with this. I honestly liked Supergirl a lot. It had some pretty good acting. Specifically, I really enjoyed Millie Alcock as Supergirl. That was a top-tier casting. There were a few things that I didn't like how some of the environments were very dull and not interesting visually whatsoever, or how the plot in the third act was, it had some very weird pacing to it. But on the whole, I honestly really had a fun time with this film. We got a movie about female empowerment in an overall cultural climate that leans more conservative, and so a lot more people got upset over it. And yes, it is misogyny, from how they treated Millie Alcock to how they fully dismissed the message and the themes of this film. This film got review bombed on IMDb, but there are people who looked into the statistics of these reviews, and most reviews left by women were positive. Meanwhile, the amount of negative reviews that were left by men was bigger than the overall amount of the reviews that was left by women. There was more negative reviews by men than all of the reviews made by women combined. If that doesn't prove that certain very fragile male egos were hurt by this film, I don't know what does. Anyways, go and watch it. Supergirl is genuinely a good film. I really enjoyed it. And now we move on to the Taylor Swift section of the video, because obviously she just got married. I think it's been 2 weeks already, which is crazy, but the internet had a lot to say, and I might be late to some of the discourse, but let me just get my 5 cents out of the way, okay? And to start things off, we have a very interesting take, I would say. Controversial take. Taylor Swift's wedding should be where she falls off from all her fans, the same way that Nicki did for being a MAGA girl. Taylor Swift's wedding had so many MAGA people, so many Zionists, so many abusers/rapists, and she hasn't said a word about the White House using her branding/music, in which Ari, Sabrina, and Olivia Rodrigo have all shut down, while Tay has yet to take action. Taylor may not have confirmed her MAGA status, but she is MAGA tolerant of all of that because they were allowed at her wedding. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here. I will talk more about the wedding itself in a separate hot take of my own, but since we're already here, let's just address the MAGA thing once and for all, and hopefully let's just leave it in the past, shall we? Listen, the internet from time to time likes to learn new words, and then it runs them to the ground. They pop up in virtually every form of internet discourse, to the point that people seem to forget what they truly mean. They become just these words, terms that people throw around without really thinking much about it. Tradwife is a great example of this. Zionist, MAGA, even Nepo baby, so on and so forth. So let's just reiterate so that we are all on the same page, okay? A MAGA person is someone who identifies with the Make America Great Again movement, and by default also supports Donald Trump and his presidency. Meanwhile, a Zionist is someone who believes and supports the idea of Israel's existence and independence in the region where it's currently situated. None of these things apply to Taylor. She has repeatedly come out against Trump. She's currently funding hospitals, food banks, and education programs that the Trump administrations had previously defunded, and has also backed Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in their respective presidential campaigns. And whilst her stance on Israel might be a little less clear, she is also very close friends with the Hadiths and has supported Palestinian charities in the past. So if it's guilty by association when someone MAGA is around her and that makes her MAGA, shouldn't that also apply here? Just a thought. And also, are we gonna do the same for other celebrities? How about Beyonce having dinner with the Trumps, or Addison Rae dating a Zionist, or Tate McRae apparently dating a Trumpy? There are many, many examples, yet I don't hear them talked about much. But anyways, that is actually not what is important here. The Nicki thing, though, comparing what Nicki Minaj did to Taylor Swift getting married is a bit far-fetched, I feel like. Nicki came out and said, "I love Trump," and a few days later, she was hanging out with Erica Kirk at the stage of Turning Point USA. Meanwhile, Taylor got married. And you think these are equally bad things? Okay. There is no political message to her having a wedding. Her guest list was definitely at times confusing, yes, and I also have a couple questions about it, what was Machine Gun Kelly doing there? For example, why are we letting just everyone in with a blue check mark on Instagram? That is my question, but that is important. We all have that like conservative uncle or grandparents. Like most people have that. But these people are still typically included on wedding guest lists because a certain etiquette exists. The internet loves to hyperanalyze everything that Taylor does, everyone she hangs out with, everyone she talks to. And I am almost sure, even if there were conservative people who were invited to this wedding, first of all, she doesn't have to share their views. And second of all, most likely, she didn't even know about them. I feel like a big one that many people mentioned was Adam Sandler being invited, which, first of all, I didn't know he was a Zionist. And listen, that obviously sucks, but I don't think Taylor was picking out a guest list by checking who aligns most with her politics. They didn't have like a metal detector at the door to check if the guests were liberal enough to like satisfy TikTok activists. She wasn't scouring through Reddit trying to make sure that everyone at her wedding would be liberal and not problematic. Like that is not how typically wedding guest lists are made. Some are, but most aren't. And I'm sorry to say this, but like welcome to the real world. That's how things look like for the most part. Sometimes you just have to, attend an event where not all people are going to shout your views, and that is just the case. Like that's just the thing, happens every time. What I also have a problem with here is that Taylor is fully to blame for all of this when Travis is the 50% of this event. Like this is Taylor and Travis, their wedding. Yet I'm not seeing any posts calling him, every possible name under the sun. That kind of smells like misogyny to me, honestly. Also, you say that she invited so many of these like problematic people. That is a massive hyperbole on your part because you're acting like this was a Turning Point USA convention, a meetup, basically. Meanwhile, this was just a celebrity wedding. I agree that Taylor hasn't used her platform to the fullest, and I think that criticism is more than valid, but I also don't think that automatically makes her MAGA since her past clearly shows that she isn't. You brought up the White House using her music and other artists protesting against that. And here, I just want to ask you a question. Just think for a second. Imagine something, okay? What would you do if you were in the shoes of Taylor Swift? How would you handle all of this? Because if your answer is, oh, I would just like call them out on social media or anything like this, please, for the love of God, think again. You are now the most famous woman on the planet. Whatever you do, people get upset. You just had a massive hate train around your new album, which was driven by thousands of bot attacks, which was proven by the Rolling Stones. The leader of the current administration has said some very concerning things about you. Your concerts and even events that are related to your name are no longer safe for people to attend, and it could become even more dangerous when more people turn against you. You can try to handle things quietly, but the media will do everything in its power to share it everywhere. So even if it's the right thing to do, it still creates an unsafe environment. And more on that, no matter what you do, you cannot satisfy everyone. I feel like Taylor, in a way, is becoming somewhat of like a Beyonce, where she just shows up, she drops music, drops something else, but doesn't necessarily engage or respond to the public discourse around her anymore. Because regardless of how she responds, the goalpost for her keeps moving. So she just stopped. And honestly, I cannot blame her. Speaking about the wedding though, I have my own hot take, and that is how the wedding looked like is none of our business. Let me explain here. I am a firm believer that when you attend a wedding, you are meant to be there as an NPC because it's not about you. Even when you are immediate family or somewhat involved have a role in the wedding, regardless of that, your opinions don't really matter because it's not your wedding. Obviously, this has limitations. If the married couple has some like insane requests or rules, you are allowed to question it, obviously. But regarding like the dress code, the ceremony, the decor, all the details around the event, you are allowed to dislike them, obviously, but you can express them like, I don't know, on your way home. When you're there, you just don't do that because it's not your event. It's not about you. You are there just as like a person in the crowd. And it's all about the couple that is getting married. And mind you, this all applies to people who actually attend weddings. And so I would say this applies twice as much if you didn't even go to this event. The amount of people that suddenly turned into like professional wedding planners in order to trash this wedding and call it tacky was insane. Y'all weren't even there, but I was seeing videos of people overanalyzing shots of I Bet You Think About Me, like the music video, thinking it's pictures from the wedding. Like, that was surreal, honestly. And I'm still honestly not sure if this was satire or not, but the person who was talking about it seemed very, very serious. Everyone and their mothers had something to say about the venue choice, the possible dress, the announcement of the marriage, the guest list, their outfits, the way the vows reportedly looked like, or how she allegedly walked down the aisle to the arrangement of Love Story. If even like things we didn't see, people were still discussing it. And just shut up. It is none of your business. I get that Taylor Swift is a celebrity, so obviously whatever she does is gonna like cause, some people to talk about her online, but it's her wedding at the end of the day. Why are you talking about it? Why was I seeing people complaining about how Taylor Swift's wedding was Taylor Swift themed? That was probably the most stupid criticism I saw of the wedding, because actually I struggle to even form a response to that, because it's just so wow, there's nothing here, is it? Obviously her wedding, the wedding of Taylor Swift is obviously going to be Taylor Swift themed, because it's her wedding. It's about her. What's not clicking?
Okay, so there's some education that needs to be done. I can see that.
So yeah, I'm just gonna need everyone to shut the fuck up for once. Let her have this one thing. That is the one event that is totally about her and her husband, whether you like it or not. This next hot take is as follows. I don't care about Taylor Swift discourse. I have always been neutral towards her, but the way people are talking about her is exhausting, even for someone who is not a part of her fandom, God forbid, but also isn't and never was an outright hater. You'll get mad at everything she does, and that is why I can't take it seriously anymore. This is honestly kind of where I am at as well. No matter what she does, there will always be people out there who are hating on Taylor Swift and thinking that it is a form of activism. You'll expect more from her than the actual politicians that you guys elect, whilst also in the same breath talking about how she exploits people, how she is MAGA, how she is the world's oldest teenager. You also say that she hoards money, but then when she donates to multiple charities, that doesn't matter because she could donate more, and that is performative, that she did actually donate money to said charities, and that is evil of her. People have recently started calling her a Nepo baby, which is just factually incorrect. And speaking of things that are factually incorrect, there is a viral Twitter post going around about how she reportedly attended a MAGA wedding, which is just a straight up lie, since the people whose wedding that was were proven to be liberals. So we were just lying now. This is not even misinformation. This is just straight up a lie. And because of that, I actually don't care anymore. None of this discourse actually pushes us further as a society. None of it is helpful. It is all for engagement farming, mostly pushed by bots, which, by the way, was proven. So why would I take it seriously? It's all lies, misinformation, exaggeration. What also frustrates me is the way that people thrust politics into any kind of celebrity or pop star discourse. Art has obviously always been political and will always remain political, but the way people form political opinions in relation to pop culture nowadays is just straight up depressing to see. Sometimes it's not that deep. Everyone, according to these people, is MAGA, a Zionist, a tradwife, spiritually Israeli, male-centered, evil, greedy, not a girl's girl. That I love that term. That is fucking whenever it pops up, you know that the discourse is about to get really annoying. This all basically is actively ruining pop culture. All of these people sound stupid. There is not a single coherent thought being made in those brains. And this actually relates to several hot takes that we had in this video, not just the Taylor ones, specifically the Gracie and Somber ones or the spiritual Israeli one. Politics are, for the most part, a group of very serious topics, and you just turn them into these terms to throw around online. That waters down what they actually mean and further damages other, more important discourse to society than all the Taylor Swift ones about how her writing proves that she's evil or whatever. It's not my fault that some people are stupid and cannot think for themselves. Moving on. The last take in this video, from what I know, is way more positive and less serious, which honestly I feel like I kind of need. I was talking about a lot of serious topics in this video, weirdly enough, and I think I know who submitted this, because I think this person quote tweeted me when I posted the form for this video. But the hot takes is as follows. Hi, my hot take is that The Life of a Showgirl should have been an EP released on December, along with the End of an Era docuseries. Make it 6 songs and market it along with the Era's docuseries. Play the songs during needle drops of the series as well. Here is my Life of a Showgirl EP tracklist. The first song is The Fate of Ophelia, then Elizabeth Taylor, Opalite, Father Figure, Ruin the Friendship, Honey, and finally The Life of a Showgirl. I actually think that this is a very interesting idea. Like, can you imagine the viewing numbers for each episode if that was the case? Damn. I low-key think this would have been a very fun idea. Is it the most realistic? Probably not really. But I like the idea of getting songs over like a period of time as well. This is something that we don't get with Taylor releases anymore, and I kind of miss it. As for the songs you picked, I pretty much agree with all of them, except for maybe Ruin the Friendship. I feel like that song as a needle drop wouldn't work as well, or like a credit song. But maybe I would substitute it for a wish list. However, not having Ruined the Friendship would hurt so much. So maybe you're onto something. I think part of the reason why Showgirl was kind of a disconnect for people is they expected more of like the tea from behind the scenes of the Eras tour, and they got it, but not in a way that they were expecting. So in that sense, I think attaching the album to the Eras docuseries grounds it more, it gives it more context, you can match the songs to certain episodes and what they talk about. I think this is a very fun idea. Like, would she ever do it? Probably not, but I see the vision you presented and I'm honestly on board. I think this is fun. And with that, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for submitting your takes as well. If your take didn't make it, don't worry, I read them all and maybe they will appear in future videos. And if you want to submit your take for the future, please be on the lookout on my Twitter and also on my YouTube post section, because I typically post the forums link there and you can fill it out, post as many hot takes as you want. This was a very heated episode. I think I talked about a lot of things that I'm very, very passionate about, but I hope it was enjoyable. If you liked it, please definitely let me know. Leave a like, a comment, subscribe to the channel. You can share it around with your friends, and I will see you next week. Well, actually not next week, this week, for a video that is also about a topic that I'm very passionate about, which some people call childish, but I don't give a fuck. And with that, thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye.